Hey, how's it going? Bill Lethman here for Money Evolution. In this video, I'm going to be helping you to figure out how much money you really need to fund your retirement. So if you go onto the internet, you do a quick search on this topic, you're going to find all kinds of different answers from different experts, different investment companies telling you you need 60% or maybe sometimes as much as 90% of your current income to fund your retirement. And that may be true. That may be even a fairly decent rule of thumb to follow if you're just doing some quick rule of thumb back of the napkin kind of retirement planning. But in reality, some of the things people might be thinking about is they're thinking about how much money they make right now and how am I going to bridge that gap? Do I really need that much money to retire? How much money is the right amount to have for retirement? So in this video, I'm going to break it all down. I've got about a 5-step process that I'm going to walk through that's going to give you a really quick answer to this. Not as quick as just calculating your income by 60 or 70%, but still, I think we're going to get to be a lot more accurate in the projections for your retirement. But real quick, before we get into the content of today's video, if you're watching this and you want to learn more about what we do at Money Evolution, you can head over to moneyevolution.com, learn about our financial planning and retirement planning programs that we have. We've also got some great resources as well. We'll put some links to all of that in the description below. But we have, just to highlight, our Retirement Launchpad, which is a set of worksheets to really help you start to get organized for retirement. Budget worksheets, organizing your financial assets, and we've also got our Ultimate Retirement Planning Guide that goes through just about every single thing that you can think of in the years right before you retire and in the years of early retirement, everything you need to be thinking about going into that retirement phase of your life. So check that all out. We've got some links down in the description below. So I've already kind of mapped all this out here. We're going to use a hypothetical client here. We're going to assume that it's a married couple that combined that right now they're making $350,000 a year. Just to keep things even more simple, we're going to assume that they're both making exactly $175,000, and you'll see why I picked that number in just a second here. But again, one of those things you might be thinking of is how am I going to bridge that gap between where I'm at right now and what does that look like in retirement? Do I need that much money? Well, there's going to be a few things that are going to be different about retirement, and one of those is going to be something called FICA taxes, and that is the money that basically comes out of your paycheck for earned income, or if you're a business owner, you'll pay it through a self-employment tax, and that is to fund Social Security and Medicare. So Social Security has a 6.2% tax, but it's not on all of your income. It's only on the income up to what they call the Social Security taxable wage base. And so for 2025, that's $176,100. So again, that's why I picked that number, that this hypothetical couple are each making $175,000 a year. So they're going to be just right up to that limit there. And then additionally, you pay a Medicare tax of 1.45%, and there is no upper limit. So even if you're making $1 million plus, you're going to pay that 1.45% on all of your earned income with no upper cap. So that's a combined 7.65%. So if we do that quick math and we say that 7.65% times the $350,000, that's where we get to that number here, which is $26,775. That's the amount of the FICA taxes. And again, that's going to go away because even though you might be taking money from your retirement accounts or you've got dividend income or interest income, that is not going to, any of that, be subject to your FICA taxes here. We're also going to say that, hey, hypothetically, they're putting some money into a 401k plan. Maybe it's pre-tax 401k contributions. Maybe you're doing some other savings. So obviously in retirement, or maybe not so obvious, but in retirement, you're not going to probably be saving money. You're going to be withdrawing money from your portfolio. You've arrived, essentially. You've gotten to retirement. You don't need to save anymore. Now we kind of flip the script on that, and now you're going to start taking withdrawals. So $60,000 of that $350,000 of total income is going to 401k. So you're not going to need that. We're going to assume that you're getting a standard deduction of $30,000 per year. So not all of that income is going to be taxable. So when we look at calculating taxes, the $350,000, subtracting the 401k contributions and the standard deduction, $260,000 of that is going to be taxable as income. We're going to run that through our federal tax table. You may have state taxes as well. You're going to want to include that if you're in a state that has state income taxes. And $48,000 is going to be for federal tax. That's going to be subtracted from $260,000. And then our FICA taxes here as well. So basically, if we look at how much money you're actually living on right now, it's not $350,000, it's $185,000. There's a few more steps to this process, but you can see already how we're kind of bridging that gap. We're, really, if you've got it in your head that we're a mile away from being at a retirement target, it may be a lot closer than you think or realize. The second thing we're going to want to do, step 2, is we're going to want to kind of jump into the future and think about what might be different in retirement versus what it is right now. One of those things are what's going to be subtracted. What are the things that you're not going to have in retirement? One of those may be a mortgage. So if you're paying a mortgage every month, hopefully that mortgage is going to be paid off by the time you retire. So in this case, we assume that your mortgage was $4,000 a month, and if that is paid off by the time you retire, there's $48,000 that you no longer need. It's not part of your current spending. You also may have kids, and kids can be expensive. You have a lot of maybe activities or school expenses if you're still helping them through college, or the food that you buy and consume in your household certainly is a lot greater, at least it is in our household, when the kids are at home versus when they're not. So we assume, let's say, $15,000 of kids expenses. And you may have a lot of other things that may be going away too. You may have, let's say, work-related expenses if you go out to lunch every day, or you have to drive a certain car, or something like that, and then you're going to scale that back a little bit. Whatever that is, you're going to think about what is going to be essentially different in a subtraction way from the income that you have, and then what are some of the things that are going to be extra, essentially. Healthcare is one of those big ones, especially if you work for a company. Maybe you've got some of the healthcare costs covered by your company that you work for right now, or maybe that's being heavily subsidized. In retirement, you're likely going to have higher healthcare expenses, and especially as all of us get older, the need for healthcare certainly goes up a lot. We just threw a number in here and said $15,000 was going to be the amount that they were going to need for healthcare expenses. And then, like a lot of our clients want to do is, hey, you're going to have a lot more free time, a lot more time to enjoy life. Well, sometimes that's not always free. Certainly you can go for a walk or do some things that are exercise and things like that are relatively low cost, but a lot of people want to travel, they want to play more golf, they want to do more recreation or hobbies, and that may cost money. So you want to think about what that is, adding that to those expenses. So we had basically $63,000 that was kind of subtracted from our expense, and we had $35,000 that was added for a net amount of $28,000 that's going to be subtracted. So when we look at that and we say, essentially, that number up here, $185,131 minus the $28,000, gets us to $157,131. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of recalculate our taxes, because we're in a different tax rate now. So we want to figure that out. So that $157,000 is what we need. We're going to take a standard deduction again, $30,000. We have $127,131 of taxable income. And that's going to relate, as we go through the tax table, to a $17,757 of taxes, what we're going to have to do there. And then what we're going to do, essentially, is we're going to add this back to the $157,131, and then we're going to come up with this $174. And this is our real retirement need that we're going to have in retirement. And so that's really the biggest part of this, is really figuring out what that is. Now, the next step is going to be to look at adding in some predictable income sources that you may have. I'm guessing that most people watching this are going to have Social Security as at least one source of predictable income. You may also have a pension. You may have rental real estate that has some predictable income coming in. For this hypothetical couple here, we're going to just assume that they're getting Social Security and their combined benefit is $70,000 a year. So when we subtract that $70,000 from the $174, now what we're figuring out is what is the actual need that you have to take from your portfolio. And that's going to be the amount that's going to be withdrawn every year to cover those expenses. Something I've talked about and many other people have talked about is something called the 4% rule. And it's just a really basic, generalized rule of thumb. It's not perfect. I think there's some flaws to it, certainly. But just to get a real rough idea of how much money you're going to need for retirement, you can simply divide that $104,888 by 0.04. And now we learn that the amount of money that we have to to fund retirement is going to be $2.6 million. And I rounded off there just a little bit there. But what we're doing here, and something I've talked about in a few recent videos, is looking at separating your retirement into two phases. One phase is what does it look like and how much you need to fund your retirement at that full retirement age. Usually for most people, that's going to be age 67. That's when you can get unreduced Social Security benefits. Of course, you can take them earlier at as early as age 62 at a reduced amount, or you could delay them to age 70 and get a little bit more, an 8% increase for every year that you delay taking them. But basically, what is it that you need at the full retirement age? That's when income and expenses really sort of normalize. But if you want to retire early, we want to calculate that separately. So we know we need the $2.6 million to fund retirement at full retirement age, but if we want to retire early, and assuming that we need that $175,000 a year to live off of, well, 2 years of that, if we retire at 65, is going to take $350,000 to cover those 2 years of early retirement expenses. And so instead of needing $2.6 million, now you need $3 million. If you wanted to retire 5 years earlier, we need 5 years of $175,000, and so that's an extra $875,000. So we need $3.5 million to fund that early retirement. And there may be even more moving pieces, because if you retire before 65, as an example, you may have to go out into the exchanges and get health insurance through the Affordable Care Act. That could be considerably more expensive than it would be if you were on Medicare, as an example. You may be still paying off a mortgage in those early years of retirement. Or maybe the purpose of retiring early is so you can do a whole bunch of big travel, and that's going to be an added expense. So whatever that is in that early retirement, if there's extra expenses, maybe you're going to say, hey, we're going to have that $48,000 mortgage, and we're going to have that for 3 years. So that means we need approximately another $150,000 to cover that mortgage. It's not going to be paid off right away when we retire. And that's okay, or that may be okay, as long as you have the money to cover that. And again, figuring that all out separate. So this was a really relatively simple example here. I know there's a lot more moving pieces with retirement. Of course, the taxes we talked about a little bit there, but there's also inflation, there's growth of your portfolio, there's contributions that you might be making between now and retirement. All of that stuff is going to really kind of play a part in figuring this out to a much higher level. So really, it's not something that's at least easy, or probably not easy at all, probably not even possible to do with a calculator and a legal pad and a whiteboard like we're doing here. You really need some kind of software or spreadsheet or something like that to put it all together. And I've seen some people create some really good spreadsheets that can kind of account for a lot of this stuff. But there's usually a few things that are missing. You know, one of those is on the taxes. They usually have to put in some basic rate of taxation that may or may not be completely representative of what's actually happening, because there's a lot of those moving pieces there. And really, when it starts getting into modeling different scenarios and things like that, a lot of those spreadsheets can kind of start to fall apart a little bit, quite literally. So having a software tool that really can kind of put it together, calculate the taxes every year, knows how Social Security is taxed, can even include your state income taxes as well if you live in a state that has state income taxes, and allows you to kind of run different scenarios and say, hey, if I retire early, do I want to wait till I'm 67 to take Social Security? Or maybe for some people, it makes sense to take that early and get that right away. So it kind of gets my cash flow a little bit less relying on the portfolio assets, just as an example there. Or maybe you're going to take advantage of some low tax years, something we've talked about in a lot of other videos, and do some Roth conversions, for example. So anyway, if you want to learn more about what we do for our financial planning, we have two programs. One of them is called the Money Evolution Plan. That's our high-end comprehensive financial plan. It includes 4 one-on-one meetings with us to help you go through all the scenarios, come up with custom solutions, recommendations for your individual situation. We also have our retirement time machine, which kind of combines a little bit of a DIY, a lot of education. You still get a meeting with us to go through the plan, run some scenarios, but really the purpose of that is more to educate you and empower you to make those decisions for yourself, but having that tool, that high-level software that's going to help you to put this all together in a way that you can make more more well-informed decisions about your retirement. So anyway, if you want to learn more about any of that stuff, including some of our free resources, check out the links in the description below. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thanks.